Hey everyone!
Hey!
Welcome back to the table. It's been so long. I sort of kind of miss y'all.
Sort of, kind of.
Yes,
Well, I did miss you all.
Okay.
I did miss you all.
See y'all every day.
Well, my name is Priska, for those of you that do not know. Your turn.
Okay, my name is Jessie. Drummond.
My name is Gervais Baptiste.
No, don't.
Oh, I'm not supposed to.
Go ahead,
I'm the Kendall Michelle.
Oh, I don't. Isatis Piñero.
We're just so good at this.
Can we like run that back? I feel like I feel really unprofessional.
We
right
never
now.
gave him any like
I
tips.
know.
It's our fault. We should have talked to you
I
about
feel like
it.
really
When he was doing it,
unprepared.
he's like, I'm Gervais.
Like,
So the idea for everyone is that we're trying to have more of an intimate conversation about these larger topics and hoping to share that with
These were all rolled up.
a large group of people online, in person, all the time. But
Okay.
and the idea is to like inspire other conversations like this. So it's really just kind of us talking to each other, and that's why we decide not to look at the camera
How are
or
we
the
gonna do
audience. Sorry,
questions from the
we
audience
love you.
today?
okay.
We'll just do them.
Yeah, just shout out the question.
Yeah, so the questions today, y'all are just going to shout them out from
Yeah, just
behind
raise
the
your
camera.
hand
It's supposed
and
to be like a red table talk. Or we could do the fishbowl unless somebody wants to get paper and like rip them up, and like we could do a makeshift fishbowl. Somebody like bring it in, like on red table talk. We could do that today.
Or y'all can text me questions. Y'all have my number. You text me on GroupMe or my number, and just act like that's our online platform. 3, 2.
Wait, sorry. Could someone give us a 10-minute before it's 6? Like,
Oh, Bradley went to the office.
thank you. Okay.
No, it's only 5:10.
Oh, not bad. Okay. I'm just gonna. Hey everyone.
Hey.
Welcome back to the table.
Thanks.
Thank
Well,
you.
first
Thank
time
you.
welcome.
Thank you. First
welcome.
time.
For those of you that do not know, my name is Pri.
Hi, Pri.
Hey,
Hi, Pri.
what's your name? Good looking.
My name is Isatis.
My name is Gervais. Nice to meet y'all.
Jesse.
The Kendo.
I know you said nice to meet us, but stop playing. you know us
You
already.
definitely know us.
So it's been such a long time since we've been at the table, so I just want to check up with everyone. How's everyone doing? How's everyone feeling? How's our day been?
Day's been busy. We had a lot of events on campus today,
Yeah.
and still going. There's
Yeah.
tons of things. Today is like the magic day, I guess, for everyone at home.
Yeah.
Tons of events.
Yeah.
Today has been busy. Semester's been good though, so thriving.
I mean, I'm just surviving, so I'm glad one of us is doing it.
I know this.
It's been rough.
This semester has been really wild. I mean, like Pri and I are in a class too, and more at the beginning of the class, we went on like this week-long trip up to MIT and learned a lot about like civic design and civic principles, and then we came back, and I feel like it's just been like a whirlwind since there, a tornado of just like different activities and ideas floating around. But on top of that, all the classes and all the activities that were already happening, like there is always something going on this campus.
Oh, yeah.
It never ends.
Thanksgiving is next week.
Hallelujah.
So, like,
Yes.
it'd be good to get a
I'll be on
break.
vacation.
break.
Need the break.
Everybody's at
need a
that point.
I'm so excited to
Yeah.
be off work for a good week.
And we come back and have finals.
Oh. I don't have finals.
Yeah.
You know.
But you got to deal with us who has finals.
Yeah.
So if
Why
we're stressed,
here?
you're going to stress you out too.
I know, but that's okay because I'll feed you and give you love and hugs.
Y'all are missing snacks. I just want you to know.
Budget cuts.
Oh. That's above me. I need to find snacks when I go in
Budget
there.
cuts.
So like I love how we were already talking about campus, and like one thing like when we started Green Table Talks, one thing that was really important to us was how we were going to start these conversations on campus and how we're going to engage other students to partake in important conversations on campus. So now that the semester is coming to a close, it really makes me want to take a step back and think about how we made any impact on our campus culture, like what does it look like, how does it feel, and I know it's different for all of us, so just want to open up the table so that everybody can kind of share how they're feeling and what they think.
Well, do y'all mind if we start with G? I mean, since he is the guest, we'll open up the floor to you first. I mean, if you want to give us some background, like who you are and what you do, and then like just where your thoughts are.
Oh, for sure. So currently on campus, I will be once again a Frosh Mosh peer mentor for 2020. I am also the parent crew leader for Eagle View Orientation and the director of Emerging Eagles through our Multicultural Leadership Development Center. Yeah, so I mean, like, I kind of like,
And you
know,
take classes?
I mean, and I take classes and I work in first year advising, and among other things. But I mean, I feel like at FGCU, we have kind of a unique culture, where we have like the size of campus, where like we should really like feel unified and like feel like a sense of like belonging towards the school. And I think that like there's like great opportunity and potential there, but we aren't quite reaching that like maximum potential. And I think that there's like different things that could be done, different things that could be implemented to like just like include like the entire student body, you know what I mean? And just to see like different things happen. And I know we'll talk a little bit more about that, but yeah, that's just kind of like my take on like our campus culture and how I feel like being a student at FGCU.
I definitely feel that. I don't feel like it's anyone's fault, but like with anything, when something's already set in stone, it takes so much work and effort to kind of change it. And so like being a senior, I'm a senior. I'm about to get up out of here. But it's like being a senior and kind of seeing the way that things were and like wanting to change it. Like I've encountered so much pushback because people are already so comfortable in how things are. And it's like they don't understand how much better it could be. Like, can you imagine how much better the campus would be if like we're walking and not looking at our phones and saying hello, you know, to our peers as we walk. The campus is so small, you know, I feel like, especially because, you know, you and I, we're both in MLD, you know, but there are like other people in MLD and I don't even know their names.
Yeah.
I feel like that's crazy.
And even though we try and like foster that conversation and we try and include everybody, it's still a little difficult sometimes. Like people just don't like to be kind of outside of the comfort zones unless you're like an extrovert or outgoing, that you like go into the space and like introduce yourself. There could be like 5 people around the table and like they won't even know each other's names at times until like one of the staff comes in and we're like, oh, who are you? You're new.
Do you know this person?
Right. Or, you know, we're talking and then somebody like they just have conversation, but maybe they don't know each other's names. And I think it just kind of depends on the individual too. So, like I said, whether somebody's a little more extroverted or outgoing versus somebody who's a little bit more introverted. And luckily we've seen a lot of new faces come into MLD this year, and hopefully we continue that trend, because definitely I think that it creates a space for our students who need that space to kind of just be themselves and not have to worry about like what they're saying, what they're talking about, how they're expressing themselves, because those conversations do happen differently in that space versus anywhere else on campus.
Well, and I think this year was it the 5-year plan for in terms of the strategic planning for the development of FGCU. So we had sessions that went on
The campus briefing sessions.
Campus master plans, and they're actually coming back December 12th to talk a little bit about like where their progress is at with those master plans. And I think a lot of the conversations in all of that is that there are other universities that have multiple spaces like that and like different areas on campus, academic, not just student life, which I think is a place that we're missing some of that, because I feel like and it's almost separated too, because like all of our academic hallways and our buildings and our classrooms are on like one kind of corridor, and the rest of that student life is in another area. So it'd be really neat to see this campus kind of evolve and to have spaces in those other areas so people find themselves like having those comfortable conversations and being their true selves, like all across campus and not just in like generalized region or areas.
Right. I know one of the talks was even changing the Cohen Center's name, so it's going to be the Student Union, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. And that just goes to show you, like, I know for me when I was a student, like the Cohen Center just seemed like just the Cohen Center. But if you say Student Union, I think that brings a different, like, just that terminology
There's
alone.
a different connotation.
Feel
But
to
that's
it.
crazy because like when I was a student here, we called this the Union. We called Cohen Center the Union.
Right.
So for us, that was like, and it was before it was called Cohen Center. So it was, I don't even remember what the name was, but we used to call it the Student Union. And so now if they do, in fact, change the name to Cohen Center Union or Cohen Union, not really sure. Actually, as I'm looking up, I see like the outline of the previous letters, and I'm like, what did it used to be called? I'm like trying to see. But it says Student Union on there, actually.
It is crazy because Dr. Blakely and I were having a conversation the other day, and he's like, so we can meet in the student union. I'm like, where is that?
Because we have to shift that mindset. We have to shift that culture. And something that you mentioned before was saying how, you know, people are so ingrained in like what they're doing already. I'm like, we're only 22 years old. Like,
Yeah.
it's okay to want to change things. It's okay to have new ideas and be innovative and do something different. Like, I'm a huge proponent. I'm like, I don't care, try it. Like, if it doesn't work, cool. But then if it does work, like, then do it again. And continue doing it. We're in the business of making traditions at the school, and people get upset about things like the bench, for example. People were so upset about this bench, but I'm like, but you complain that we don't have traditions.
Right.
And this is something that's going to be here for years to come. And if your kids ever come to FGCU, guess what? That bench is still going to be here. And you're going to take your picture there when you graduate. And then your kid's going to take a picture there on their first day of classes and the day that they graduate. And look, boom, tradition.
And I get that, but I think it's important to think about the processes of how we go about things.
Oh, yeah, for
you know
sure.
what I mean? Like, what was the process in doing
Well,
that?
yeah,
Who was
that's-
involved in it? And I'm like, if you're going to put the students, that word, on a building, you need to have participatory action
Oh,
in
for
terms
sure.
of
Right.
what are you putting in that building? How are you creating that space?
Definitely.
Who's being involved in that? And not
Agreed.
just like just random leaders of students on campus, but like having a larger interactive session in terms of like if you're gonna make it for us, then like have us
Definitely.
participate in that. Like, show us the budget. We can talk about the things that we want to have in there. So I think that process is where some of the aspects of like what we want and the culture of this campus gets a little bit lost in. And I think it's because sometimes we just want to do it and we want to do it easy,
Right.
and like getting involvement and having community-based action is tough.
Yeah.
But like I really think we need to be engaging in that, because that's what we're trying to ask our students to be doing in like
100%.
communities outside of the university. And
Yeah.
so it's just something that we need to be practicing at too.
I mean,
Yeah.
and I think that raises really like a central point for me as well, because like when I think about like, you know, like the campus like culture and like what I want to see, like one of the first things that I think about, and I'm probably going to talk about this a lot more today, is like collaboration, right? So like just like you said, like yes, there are student leaders across campus, right? And like we all know who those student leaders are, because they're so visible and they're like always in the limelight and we're always seeing these people. But like, what about those students that like show up to campus and like they don't really feel like they have like a space to be here?
Right.
And it's not saying that like that space isn't here, but like it's just not accessible to them. And so like, how do we like collaborate and like create that culture, create that tradition of like supporting like organizations supporting organizations, offices supporting offices, and just like being like more unified in the way that we go about things? Because I think that like even though we do have this size of campus, I feel like everything is done so like divisively that like we just end up being like separated at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And I like when you mention like student leaders, because for me, I feel like, especially because our university, it seems big, but it's pretty small, and it's like, I feel like when we say student leaders, we're encouraging everyone to want to be a student leader. Like, that's the ultimate goal. Like, I want to be a student leader. But it's just like, as a leader, a student leader, it's like, you have to keep in mind you're leading other students, you know?
Yeah,
like,
you're
I'm not
serving.
talking for myself,
Yeah.
I'm not talking for them, I'm talking
Talk
with
for
them.
the student
But
body.
a lot of times, like, student leaders, we get so caught up in like what we think that students want, you know? And I feel like that's a lot of the culture that we have going on, because you said like we know each other, but there's a lot of student leaders that I don't know.
Exactly.
I only know
Yeah.
the ones that MLD really, to be honest, but like, there's no space for all the student leaders to kind of come together and like, okay, what are we going to do about this? How do we feel about this? Is this
Yeah.
working? Is it not working? I don't know what's going on like in the different departments, in the different programs. And I feel like that's what really makes us so unique, is that we all have different backgrounds. Like, I'm passionate about something different than what you're passionate about. But like, imagine if we all come together and we're trying to benefit and like better our campus with the different passions that we all bring to the table. But we're too busy like working in our own separate zones that we
Yeah.
don't have time to come together. And talk
And that's the
about
hard
these
part.
things.
Students are like, well, I'm going to start a new club. And I was like, there are 177 clubs on this campus. Like, there's a lot. And like, there are clubs that don't even network and that are kind of circled around the same thing. So like, why are we getting those? Like, just be an independent person that's literally trying to like bring some of these people together. Because like, if you can even like think about the amount of like, by pulling those people together, you can make such an impact. The amount of impact that you could have.
Yeah,
Just, like-
I think it's not just with the clubs or the RSOs. I think it's with events too. Like everyone, like I advise a fraternity on campus, and I advise the programming side, and I said, whatever you do, please don't do the pie somebody in the face event. Like, I'm tired of seeing it. And he's like, but it works. I'm like, okay, great. And then like a couple months later, he's like, I did something you told me not to do, and I was like, this could be a lot of things. So I was like, I don't know where you're going with this.
Yeah.
And then he's just like, we're doing PIA, whatever, insert their fraternity name. And I was just like, really? Like,
Yeah.
And then that week there was literally 4 other organizations that were doing the same exact event. And I was like, where's the originality? Like,
Yeah.
everyone wants to be like, oh, well, we did this first, or everyone's competing for, like, I'm getting this, like Dr. Blakely says, this imaginary trophy that everyone's competing for. Like,
Yeah.
why
Yeah.
can't we all just come together and like do things together, like be
Yeah.
one happy family? Like, I've seen a little bit of a change with some of our RSOs and some of our student groups. That now there's like a giant chat with all of the groups, and like I see a lot more sharing of each other's events and understanding and talking a little bit more.
Yeah.
Are we where we need to be? I don't think so, but I think we're taking the right strides to be where
Yeah.
we need to
Yeah.
be at, because the students, I think, are kind of starting to see like, well, I don't want to program over you because I want you to come to my program. And the other thing too is like this imaginary beef that people have with other organizations. Like, I hate that. And like, just because you think that something was said, or just because like people before you told you that there's
Yeah.
bad blood between these organizations, like, what about now? Like, do you know these people? No. So then why do you hate them? I don't know. Okay, because somebody told you to hate them? Okay, cool. Like,
Yeah.
that's silly.
And I feel like we're 22 years old. Like, we're too young to already have bad blood. Like, what already happened? I feel like the time is always now to do something great. And like, as a student leader, that's like the only impact that I really want to leave behind. I'm about to graduate. It's just like, can we please like come together and like plan some? Can we please just learn how to say hello? Can we please just work together? Like, be considerate. Learn how to talk to each other. Like, can we learn how to be empathetic again? Can we learn how to be
Yeah.
compassionate again?
Yeah.
Like, can we learn how to be like civil at least? We're not always going to agree, but can we at least learn how to have a conversation about it?
Yeah.
You know?
And I think you said something really important. Like, we have like all these like different organizations and different events, but I think like the motivation, like the drive behind what's doing it has to be right. You can't be putting on an event as an organization for the credit of like putting on that event, or saying that like my event did this, or like we got like X amount of people to come out to the event, as opposed to like, if your organization has like X amount of people and my organization has X amount of people, and we come together and collaborate and we both have like awesome ideas for like a similar event, why can't we do an event that like encompasses like all our ideas and get even a greater amount of people to show up to like what we're trying to, like the message that
Because
we're trying
it's
to give,
more
or
than the
that we're
event.
trying-
Because
it's
like
more than
all
the
the
event.
organizations are just like, whoa, like they were able to come together to do something.
Yeah.
There's always another message. I tell everyone, like, there's always a message behind everything that you do,
Yep.
whether you say it or not. There's always something that's implied behind it. And I feel like when more people, more student leaders, you know, more faculty, staff, we kind of like all working towards the same thing, like to make sure that these things are intentional, then that's when the change.
Yeah.
And like you're gonna find yourself where you're like, there's conflict, because when you're working with a lot of different people that have a lot of different backgrounds, you're gonna get to a point where you're like, well, I don't want to compromise there. And like that is one of the most beautiful moments that you can be working through, because like when you get into the real world, into different communities, there are going to be time periods where you have to break down certain barriers to go over that conflict and get to a peaceful solution to something. And so I think it's like the skills that you can be learning from collaborating and working on campus can be used like
Beyond.
Yeah.
beyond.
And I think that's the whole
sure.
point. Like, that's like the business that we're in, is getting you all prepared to be out in the real world. And in the real world, you have to deal with people that you don't necessarily like, but you have to respect and you have
Yeah.
to work with them. And in the real world, there's going to be people that you absolutely love and you're going to be working with them, but
Yeah.
you can't play like favorites. And you're going to have your favorites because everyone has favorites, but you have to learn how to be kind of neutral and across the board with
Yeah.
everybody, and for the good of the work, for the good of the cause, for the good of insert whatever here, you all have to come together and work for that. And building those conflict resolution skills, building those communication skills, building that collaboration skill, like
empathy.
empathy. Empathy is huge, but just building that now is going to help you all so much more. And to get that across to our students is so difficult sometimes, because a lot of the other issue that we have is a lot of our student leaders are like, well, I've made it. I don't need any extra help. I don't need any additional training. I've already met those skills.
That goes back to their leadership.
Yeah, so it's like, oh, I'm the leader. I'm a student leader, and now I don't need any of these things. I don't need to go to conferences. I don't need to go to trainings. I don't need to go to retreats. I don't need a training. Like, a training is stupid, and then they're sitting through training and they're wanting to fall asleep or not paying attention. And you can't
Do you
think
think
of it that way.
maybe like they're just tired? Because one thing, and I struggle with it. The Kendall has told me this many times. Like, you don't know how to say no. Like, I don't know how to say no.
I don't
So
either,
like,
and I'm
what I
32
notice is
years old.
like we have a lot of student leaders on campus so many student leaders on campus that are just stretched so thin. Like, I'm not just the student leader of this particular thing. I'm the student leader of like 10 different organizations. I sit on 9 other e-boards. So maybe like, I know I get to the point where I'm just like, I can't go to this conference because I'm exhausted, you know?
And that's totally fine. But that's also where you all need to advocate for yourselves. And that's also where you all need to have a mentor or somebody that you can confide in on campus to talk about those things. I have student leaders who I'm very close with, and I sit down and have a conversation with them, and I say, what are your involvements? What do you plan on being involved in the next year? Because you're here to be a student first.
Yeah.
All of these other things are extra. That's why they're called extracurricular.
And there's like, how can we
Extra.
be delegating better too? And
Right.
that's something I've been trying to work on. You know, we're so lucky in the office that I work in to have student ambassadors. And so like, how can I be taking things off my plate that do matter a lot to me, and I get a lot from them, but other people could be getting a lot from those
exactly.
situations and those experiences. And they're going to bring something so different from that. And so I think that's a hard thing to like, let give things away and just like hope they work out. But I don't know, I think it's important to make sure that we're like promoting each other. And I always think, I think that's something too, especially with women and in different workplaces and within communities, is like we need to be supporting each other.
Yeah.
And I see that here sometimes where I'm just like, I'm not doing bad things and you're like giving me a hard time, you know? So I just like, I think at the end of the day, we should be, I don't know. I just like,
She's imitating somebody, clearly.
No, I think I don't know why we're giving people that are doing such hard work and doing as much as they can and put barriers in front of them and be like, and you're just like,
or just speak negatively about what they're doing or who they're talking to and why they're doing it. I'm like, we're just trying to do great things.
Yeah.
We're just trying to make this campus great.
Another thing that I've noticed, like with our campus culture, and I'm really curious because I know y'all came here for undergrad, so I'm curious as to like how much it has changed, because I know we have more minority students on campus now. I know that this is a fact, but it's still like the divide is like apparent.
Yeah.
Like, it's not anything we're like tiptoeing around, like everybody knows this. So when you guys were in school, or you all were in school, I'm sorry. Yes, I got myself. When you all were in school, how did you all figure out how to navigate like that divide? Like, how were you able to bring, I don't know, like the organizations that you were a part of together? How were you able to kind of collaborate with other minority organizations or other minority students, or even Jesse? Like, I'm curious as to know how that was like a few years ago.
So I'm going to defer to Hendo so I can think of my answer.
I know for me, it was like, yes, I knew everybody already. So for me, it was an easy transition, but getting everybody on board, I think you have to put your pride aside. You know, like, it's not always about me, or I. Me personally, I've never been the type to be like, oh, I did this or I did that. It was always like, oh, no, we did that. Like, we did this together. So when I was in school, like, we all helped out each other, whether it was attending Make a Difference Day, whether it was eating together at BYOB at the time. But I think for this generation, it's always like, I'm part of this fraternity, so I have to hang out with these people.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm part of MLD, so I have to be at MLD. No, you don't have to do nothing. Like,
Yeah.
go out and talk to somebody different, talk to somebody new. I think this generation, mentorship really plays a key, because I know for me, I had that mentor say, hey, go talk to these people, or hey, come to this event. Just kind of break you out of your comfort zone and all that.
Yeah.
But this generation specifically, and I'm part of that generation, so it's still like grooming, but you just have to put your pride aside and try something new. Like, you're not always going to be part of this fraternity or this organization. Of course, you have to graduate. And once again, it's those transferable skills that you learn and things of that nature.
Yeah.
So it's not like you don't have to do nothing. No, go out and try something new. So that's why I always encourage my people, or just anybody I meet, like, hey, come to this event. Like, for example, we have First Generation Day. When we first started, of course, we started real small, and we did it with our department. But then we started reaching out to other people. Now it's this huge event, like over like 50 organizations were out there, and just like people randomly come like, hey, who are you, or what are you doing? It's like, oh, this is us, this is what we're doing. It's like, cool. So you just change one person's mindset, and they're gonna tell somebody else like, hey, you see that First Generation Day? Hey, I want a T-shirt. Hey, come get a T-shirt. And then from there, like, you just build that bond. Like, whenever they see you, it's like a high thing, you know, instead of like, oh man, like, we're not part of this group, so we're not gonna go to that event. Or we don't even know them. They don't, like, you just have to get it out your mind that you're in college, everybody's here to help each other. That's how I look at it. So for sure.
And we have made strides in the past years. And so, I mean, it's been a while since I've been, since my undergrad. And I mean, like, we have made...
5.
4.
Thanks.
I think what I'm saying is that, like, there has been a lot of development on this campus. I mean, like, seeing the different programs and events and the different people that are at ML, like multicultural leadership development, and the fact that like even your office is growing and the way that those are growing. I feel like when I was a student, it was way more segregated into groups, siloed into groups than it is today. And even I did not get engaged with like student government. It was just, and I feel like a little bit of that is also just like, I was just, you know, like young, and I didn't have this like larger aspect and like thought process in terms of like I was trying to figure out what I even wanted to do for myself, let alone like trying to understand the different backgrounds and understandings of other people. And so I think a little of that is maturity. Like we're learning a lot when you learn so much during your undergrad years. And so like I think we're at a point at this university where we have programs and other things that people can like learn and like mature in that faster way and mature in a more open way, which I think is beautiful. But I will say like the different clubs that I was involved in, we got to a point where there were so many different environmental, green, sustainability, social justice, all these different clubs that were happening, that we had enough student leaders and we like conversated enough to create Eco FGCU, which was like kind of a committee for all of us to come together. And so the neat part is we would have monthly meetings about like, what are you doing and how are you doing? And we would literally have like face-to-face times to meet and talk with each other. And so I think that was like a great initiative that we were able to create at that point. And it's literally just like, we're all trying to do the same thing, you know, in different ways, absolutely. But like, so how can we come together and talk about those things, as well as like, where do we want this university to be going? And I think that conversation is so important, because like students have such an impact on this campus, and they have the ability to make such a huge impact.
Students don't realize the power that they have.
So much power.
Like students
so
are like,
power.
you go say it. I'm like, I work here. They're tired of me saying it. This is what I say all day, every day in my meetings. They don't care. I could say it till I'm literally purple in the face, and they're like, okay. When you all say it once, they hear you.
Well, and
when you say it twice, they're listening.
Yeah.
You say it 3 times, 4 times, they're starting to take action.
Yeah.
And that's the important piece. And like the students don't realize the power that you all have in making change on this campus.
Yeah.
And just around altogether, like going to Rally in Tallahassee, going to FGCU Day, like these things are important, because they may seem like they're not listening, but it takes that one thing that you say for that one person to hear.
Yeah. And if you collaborate,
it'll change.
Yeah. And I think it's important as student leaders, like, and as people that like are actively involved in campus, to inspire others to be the same way, because I think that a lot of times people are uncomfortable.
Yeah.
People are uncomfortable broadening their horizons. So like, if you get an invitation to go to a conference that has absolutely nothing to do with your major, absolutely nothing to do with what you're involved in,
Go.
You know, like you mentioned Rally in Tally. I'm absolutely not a part of student government. Like,
I was so happy to see you in those pictures.
You know, and like I received
it was like the face of FGCU.
You know, and like I received an invitation to like broaden my horizons and have a new experience.
Right.
And I took it. I took that chance. You know, like I was the only person there that wasn't from student government. I didn't feel uncomfortable being in that situation, because I'm willing and I'm open to expand my experience
and
and
plus
broaden my horizons.
it's free. And like if you're gonna pay for it, go.
But
like,
almost everything on this campus is free.
Thank you. But like it's just like, but it's like the other things, like the bigger things. Like we have Leadership Academy coming up, and it's like 3 days of like learning about your leadership style, learning about who you are as a leader, and like growing as a leader.
And people are like, no.
And like people are like,
no.
And as soon as I say it's free, they're like, oh, where do I sign up? I'm like, you do realize that almost nothing on this campus you have to pay for besides like the food.
I will say that, going back to your question, back in my day,
Back in my day.
I had to walk through 5 feet of snow. I've never had to do that in my life, but I've heard plenty of stories about that. But definitely, as the oldest person around this table, and having been here at FGCU a long time ago, it seems like a long time ago, but like yesterday at the same time, campus was completely different than what it is today. Like completely different. Half of the campus wasn't even here. When I started at FGCU, it was just about 5,000 students. By the time I graduated, it was at 10,000 students.
Wow.
So in those 5 years that I literally saw the growth of FGCU, and then I was gone for like 4 years. And when I came back, I was like, what buildings that were numbers now had names, and I had no clue where I was going. I was like, what are all these names and who are all these people? And just in general, it was like, what is going on here? And when it came to like campus unity, at least for us, like there wasn't necessarily like cultural groups. Like it was very much a PWI, like a white school. Like it was a white school. And Issa back then and Issa now are two very different people, because you try to assimilate and you try to fit into, and you conform to the space, knowing, and you're having this inner battle of like, well, I'm a Latina woman and these are the things I care about, but there's nowhere for me to actually care about these things on this campus. And the few classes that I could take about it it was like 3 classes, and I took the 3 classes, and then that was it. And I was just like, okay, cool. And then I was just like, so I founded my organization here, my sorority, and that was because of the help of somebody who worked up in student involvement. And I didn't know about any of these organizations, and he took the time to teach me about those organizations. And so that's kind of how that kind of unfolded. But even when I became a member of my sorority, being a member of Greek life at the time, like all the minority Greeks were so united. They were so united. We used to hang out at each other's houses. We would invite each other to each other's events. Like, we would just be there to support each other. And like when I came back, I was like, why is no one going to, because they don't like us. I'm like, or like they never come to our events. I'm like, what do you mean they don't go to your events? I'm like, well, they don't come to our events, so we're not going to go to theirs. I'm like, you're creating the divide. Like, you are the reason why there's no one coming to your events. You need to go to people's events so that you show face, whether you like each other or not.
Right.
You need to put your pride, like you said, you need to put your pride aside and say, okay, I want people to come to my event, but I have to be the bigger person. And I'm going to go to their event. And by going to their event and going to the next event and going to the other event, they're in turn at some point going to realize, maybe we should return the favor and go to one of their events. And every time I go to one of their events, guess what I'm gonna tell them? Hey, you should really come out to our next event.
Right.
Hey, and I used to tell that about Greek life, about other RSOs, the same thing. And it's like, with Greek life especially, I'm like, invite each other to each other's informationals, learn about each other's organizations.
Right.
Because somebody who wants to join Sigma Gamma Rho is not going to want to join Hermandad de Sigma Iota Alpha Incorporada. Somebody who wants to join my organization is not going to want to join Theta Nu Xi. Someone who wants to join Theta Nu Xi is not going to want to join Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated.
Right.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So if we know about each other's organizations, we can help each other recruit. We can help each other be better, because these organizations are the ones that are suffering on this campus. And by helping each other out is the only way that we're going to overcome and surpass the expectations that are down on the ground for these organizations, because everyone wants these organizations to go away.
I feel like we've made it to the baseline of where you know what I mean? Like, so there's clubs on campus.
We've done enough.
No, yeah. And like people are like, oh, okay. And I'm like, no. Like, we have so much more to do. We have so much more.
And we talk about Greek life, but it's the same thing with registered student organizations.
Absolutely.
It's like, go to each other's events. Why does everybody have like an ice cream social? Have one ice cream social for everybody.
Everybody just went about everyone.
You put in 50, you put in 50, you put in 50. Oh my God, look at how much ice cream we have. And we had 300 people at this event because your organization has 75 people. I have 20, but the other one has 50. The other one has 100 and something people. We all come together, all of our people come in, and boom, it's a huge successful event, and we're getting to know each other. And maybe you get connected with somebody who didn't even know that your organization existed, but they are interested in it. Or they had a small sliver of curiosity for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if we're in the business of connecting people and wanting to network and build our groups, then why not do that and lead by example?
And so you asked what we felt and how it was, previously being at the school and coming back now, but how are you all feeling about the current and where you could be going with all of that kind of?
I mean,
I
I feel like one of the biggest avenues that we have right now is social media, right? I feel like even if organizations aren't doing collaborative events yet, they aren't getting together for the same type of events, organizations can make an effort to support each other and promote each other's events.
Right.
So even today with Green Table Talks, go on Instagram, make a story, tag different organizations, and why can't they just post your event?
Right.
Yeah.
Obviously they see who's putting on the event, and obviously they know where it's going to be. You tag them, so
And they're
why
"Oh, I
can't
like
they
it."
spread the word about this? Why can't
Yeah.
we advocate for each other and create a greater sense, because people don't know about a lot of the things that happen on this campus. People don't know about a lot of the resources that we have on this campus.
Yeah.
And I mean, that goes back to marketing, and that goes back to everything. But if we are able to, as a student body, as a student population, as student leaders, support each other and help each other grow, I think that we'll see like significant change, like in just like the way we feel being on campus and how comfortable we are being in different campus spaces.
Yeah.
For me, I just realized like we have a lack of education, because the events that you'll get the most amount of people are the social events where there's more food
Yes.
and we get to just play games. But it's like, for me, it's like, in order to like really support another organization, you have to understand them. You have to know
Yes.
about them, and that's going to take an educational event. It's
Yeah,
going to
right.
take a panel. It's going to take for you to come sit down in a room. Sometimes there's not going to be food. Sometimes it's going to be talking about things that make you uncomfortable.
All of
Yeah.
your
You
events do not
like,
have to have free food.
Yeah.
but it's like, if it doesn't have free food,
No
you're
one
probably going to
comes.
get, you know, just a few amount of people. And it's
Yeah.
like, for me, I mean, I feel like in order for our campus culture to improve, like that education component has to play a bigger factor. And I feel like every student needs a mentor, because a year ago, this is not the same pre. Like
Yeah.
a year ago, before I met MLD, and before I've been surrounded by people who are just like woke and educated, and it inspired me to want to be educated myself. And I tell, like, because I'm part of BSA, and I tell them all the time, it's not enough just to be black. Like,
No.
that doesn't prove anything. It doesn't explain anything.
Just because you're an ethnic background doesn't
Right.
make
That
you
doesn't mean like that's
enough.
enough of a reason. Like, if someone is saying something or using a word they shouldn't use, being black doesn't cover it. Like, oh, you just can't use that word. Why? Because I said so, because I'm black.
Yeah.
You have to understand where that word came from. You have to understand like the history of it. You have to understand who you are as a person.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
feel like a lot of the times, even students on this campus, like, we have like an identity crisis. And it's like, yes, I know that I'm Priska, but how many times I find myself like acting outside of my character just to conform to a space.
Yeah.
In a classroom, it's like I changed
Code switching.
that part. Code switching, like my voice kind of changes a little bit depending on like
And you
the
don't use
faculty.
ebonics, and you use
Right.
proper English, and
you know,
you make sure
and
that
I
you
put my
pronounce
hair
every
and
letter
it's-
of every word.
And like even the way I dress, sometimes I'm kind of just like, you know, like
Yeah.
trying to fix myself up. And it's like, if you're not comfortable in your own skin, or you don't understand your own skin, you're never gonna be able to make other people comfortable with you being in your own skin. So, you know, I had to take a stand and be like, okay, everyone's gonna call me Priska, not Priscilla, not Priska, not whatever you feel is easier for you.
Yeah.
You're gonna say my name correctly. You're gonna understand where I come from. I don't speak Haitian. I speak Creole. Yes, my parents are from Haiti. And it's like little things like that, and kind of like inspiring other people to want to do the same thing, because I feel like as a leader, my actions speak much louder than my words ever
Yes.
will.
Yeah.
So I'm like
100%.
really having to like pay attention to the way that I walk, the way that I talk, the way that I conduct myself. Like, there's so much power in hello. Like,
Yeah.
when I'm walking by, like, hey, and you remember someone's name. It's like, hey G. Like, every time I say, hey G, hey Jesse, and I make this big, like, the back on
Yeah.
campus, like, oh my God, Decando. Like, he'll be across the campus. I'm like, Decando. You know,
I
like,
do that too.
You know?
On the golf cart.
It
to
makes
make 'em jealous.
people feel good. It makes people feel good. It makes people feel comfortable. Like, oh my goodness, I'm starting to feel at home here.
Yeah.
Like, I have a
Gives them a
community
sense
here.
of
belonging.
I have home here. You know, home away
Yeah.
from home. And if that's the smallest impact that I can make, that's enough for me. And I'm going to continue to do it every single day. I'll never get tired of doing that.
You know, it's crazy you say that, though, because initially we started off with just a week of welcome, so it just used to be like 2 days or 3 days. Now we have like a month, like weeks of welcome, and it's still like you see some of the same students, and I'm always wondering, like, y'all say there's no events, but we went from a week of welcome to
Yeah.
weeks of welcome, and it's
And
like,
still people
where's
complain.
everybody at? Yeah.
People complain still, and they say that there's nothing to do. And I said, there's something to do that you want.
Right.
Yeah.
But then if there's nothing to do that you want, then get involved in
Yeah,
those
for
things
sure.
that make the decisions. So for example, like programming board is one of the biggest people that put on a lot of events
Yeah.
on campus, or the groups I should say, because it's a group of people.
Right.
But people complain about the concerts and who they pick for the concerts. They complain about, you know, oh, there's not enough this or the food that they have for this. I'm like, okay, well, then be part of the general
Right.
board.
Yeah, yeah.
So then
Yeah.
you can sit on the committees. So then you can make the decisions on all of these things. Oh no, that's too. That's.
But and like you
and
don't
I'm
have
like,
to be
so
a part
then-
of a club, or you don't have to be a part of a leadership thing. You can literally walk
Right.
in and do that, and that's something that I missed out during my undergrad, because it was like, ooh, I don't know how to. I don't even know anything about student government. I don't know how to get involved in those certain
Right.
things. And like after that maturity and that level, it's just like you realize that like
You could have done
you
it.
could, yeah,
You could've-
you
But
really
the
can.
other
This
thing, too,
campus,
is
you
it's just, like,
absolutely can on this campus.
ask questions. It's
In
like
the right places.
Being okay to ask questions, and if somebody doesn't give you the right answer, then go somewhere
somewhere
else.
else.
Yes.
Go
It's like,
somewhere
there's never a
else.
dead end. Like, so many times I find questions, I'm just like, I'm a student here just like you.
And there are
don't
pockets
know.
of people on this campus that are just brilliant and incredible and mentor, like just amazing mentors. And I do think that there is a level with faculty and staff that we need to step up more to be promoting the culture and that home feel and that safe, secure environment for people to collaborate and work together and have those kind of important conversations. But I think there's a lot of education that needs to happen there too.
And I think in that aspect, when you're talking about faculty and staff, like we need them to step up more.
Yeah.
Period. Like I advise like close to 6 organizations, and there's no reason for me to advise that many organizations.
Right.
And I started to tell them I can no longer advise you because it's taking time away from my actual job, and you all need to find other people who are not constantly involved.
We
Like,
can't take the people who are doing great things and be like, do more.
Or like do less of the great things to do other things.
Right. And it's like it's that cultural tax, right? It's the color tax.
Right.
One, two, it's the ones of like the people who always say yes, and I'm just like yes, you know. But we need our faculty and our staff to be able to step up more. And if you don't want it, then why are you in a place of higher education?
Thank you. And
Like that is the
everything,
point.
everyone.
That is the
top
point.
down,
If you are here to better yourself, you need to be here to better students, because
Yeah.
that is who is paying our paychecks.
Yes.
That is the reason why we are here, and you need to be doing more.
And that's our
Sorry.
inspiration.
You need to be doing
Absolutely.
more. 100%. Period. T. Dot.
And I know like the conversation could continue, but I just want to leave a space like if there's any questions. Go for it.
I was gonna say, what is MLD and what is BSA?
Oh, thanks.
So MLD is the Multicultural and Leadership Development Center, and we do tons of fantastic things. I mean, I could talk for hours, and we don't have that much time on what we do and offer. But in a short,
Well, we can,
yeah, like short is like we do leadership retreats and leadership development, and we also do workshops and trainings on diversity and social justice. Ultimately, we
Across
do
campus.
programming university-wide
Yeah.
on cultural celebrations, faith-based celebrations, diversity training, not to be confused with the diversity and inclusion certificate. That's a different department on our campus, but we do really partner with them to host different workshops to complete the diversity and inclusion certificate. But we do a lot. We're located in Cohen Center 255. So if you want to come by, we have lunch together. Like we have chats. We just talk about life.
They have snacks.
We got snacks. We got
Really
chocolate.
And then BSA, do you want to talk?
Yeah, BSA, the letters stand for Black Student Alliance. Can't talk. Black Student Alliance. And basically, it's pretty much just a space where, like, not just Black students, and like I know that gets so confused, but it's an alliance, which means we're trying to align ourselves with the different students that we have on campus, different other minority groups and majority groups. I don't even know if that's what they're called, but essentially it's open to anyone to like learn about like the Black culture, learn as a Black person like about your culture and your history and how we can come together to kind of create the change that we want to see, especially being at a PWI. Like, how do we establish ourselves here? How do we use our voice like in things that we want to see, the changes that we want to make happen on campus? And like, how can we just come together as Black people, as people, to kind of like learn about each other and to find a home at FGCU? And like, that's the biggest thing
And
for
you
me.
do a great job about doing educational and fun.
It's important because
so
we
good.
learned on our
Party
trip
with a
that
purpose.
Party with a purpose.
That's MLD. Party
Sorry,
with a
that was
purpose.
exciting. Sorry. We cut you off.
I was like really excited about what I was
Go,
about
go,
to
ahead.
say.
Go.
That's like my excitement.
Go.
But we
I
had
inspire
learned
yourself.
on our thank you. So on our trip, we learned like there's so much that you can learn through fun. Like it doesn't have to be two separate things. Like we
Yes.
can learn while having fun.
Thank you for learning that.
I mean, it's like I knew that, but it's like I needed someone to tell me that it was like socially acceptable.
Very smart,
guess.
very
Yeah,
smart
that's
people from Boston.
That's interesting.
So
Do we have any questions?
Any other questions?
Yeah.
I didn't get any. I mean, that's cool. I have a question actually. So what would be anyone at the table's advice on how to kind of bridge this divide? Like, what would be the first step? Like, I don't want to just have a conversation as just a conversation just to have it and throw it in the air and then we turn around and that's the end of it.
Yeah.
But like, what are the first steps that we can take, like just for us at the table and for the ones that will be watching this? What do we do? Where do we start? Where do we begin?
I think first it starts at orientation. At least for me, it starts at orientation. So like that's when all the new faces come. And it's nothing against the old students. Like I love old students, but when you see a new student, you get them right then and there, like before they even touch campus, whether they're visiting or just at orientation.
Yeah.
And then you get them and you introduce them to X, Y, and Z, they feel like, oh my gosh, like I have a home here, and they have that one person that they can come to, and then you branch them out to everybody else. So I think it starts for me at least as a staff member, to get a student black, white, green, purple, black, orange,
Why do we
girl,
say, like,
boy.
green, purple?
It doesn't
I
matter.
know.
Like, those
I
are not
don't
even
know.
actual
I
colors.
mean, if you get burned by the sun, you'll be black. I guess if you're sick,
Wait.
you're green. You know, I don't know. But for me, that's where it starts. Like,
Are we emojis?
Inside
My
out.
friend is actually a color of an emoji, but we're not gonna go there.
Your friend is?
Yeah, he's black.
Okay,
always
okay.
black.
Like purple
Like
black?
purple black.
Oh.
But
But
that's where
because
it
black
starts at
people
for
have
me.
different shades, just saying.
Right. But like I
Like,
said, just to get them there, and
unofficially.
then I know for me, like everybody that I've come in contact with, we like still play basketball together, or like
Yeah.
they join our intramural team, and then by then they meet other students that meet other students, and it's just a continuous like
Yeah.
growing, together. But that's just mine. I hate being behind a computer anyway, so I feel good. to take
Thank you.
a
Same.
walk.
For me, like, I always stress the importance of mentoring, but like for me, it's like multifaceted. So yes, it's important to have like an adult, like a faculty or staff to be your mentor. But I also feel like upper level students should also be mentoring, students who are just coming in, because yes, the faculty will be able to help you in a sense, but like it's a different perspective when it's coming from a student. Like, like just trying to teach them what you already know. Like you don't have to make the same mistakes that I did. I spent 2 years of my undergrad just chilling in my dorm, going to work, going to class, and that was it. It took me so long to get involved on campus because I didn't know the right places to go. Like just understanding that the wealth is for everyone and not just for yourself. So like the more that I know, the more that I want to share it.
Yeah. And that you can hold your values and get involved on campus, and if you decide that something is not a part of that value, there are multiple other places that you can still do leadership opportunities and still get involved. So like I feel like sometimes when students are faced with that wall or that bridge or something that's happening, and they're like I'm done, like they have like crossed a line for me, and you can say yes to that, and you can be like, that has crossed your values, but find another place and promote that, because like there are probably plenty of other students on this campus that are trying to have the same communication and impact that you're trying to do, and just because one or two people said no to you, like do not
People
stop
shut down.
there.
People
No.
shut down after
people
a piece.
do
When you
I
say
mean, because
no,
it's
or you
emotional.
say
Yeah.
and
like
I
what
think
we're doing is about like your life.
Yeah.
yeah.
You're passionate about it,
Yeah.
like everything. And I'm gonna plug
We
this
put
in
so
right
much
here.
time.
No, Dr. Blakely actually told me, he's like, you have to learn how to be emotionally invested without being emotional.
Yeah.
Is it like that? Is that what it is? Emotionally attached without being emotional. It's something like that.
Yeah.
Don't be all emotional about everything. That was the gist of the quote.
I have a hard time with that because I'm just like so passionate and like emotional about everything in life. Everything. Like
If you say no to me, you're saying no to Prisca. I don't care what I ask you. If you decline, you're declining my existence.
but I mean,
Okay,
I've
let's keep
learned,
going. Let's
I've
keep
learned to
going.
take like constructive criticism, but I think it's like when you're super passionate about certain things, like it's really hard to get somebody to tell you like something against it or like
Yeah.
say no, and you're just like, well,
Or just be like,
well,
"That's
how about this way?
Yeah, like, that's not really what we do, and I'm just like, well, it's what we should.
Right.
Why
and
not?
why don't we do it?
Yeah.
Right? But and people just shut down and don't ask questions.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So again, ask questions.
Oh my
like,
gosh,
take
yes.
the risk. And it's how somebody
Be
tells you no.
bold.
Okay. Then find a way to say yes.
Yeah.
Like find a way to get the yes. So if they say no, okay, well, no, why no?
Yeah.
What from this that I'm asking you is making you say no? How can I fix it to get a yes?
Yeah. Or what do we need to get that yes? Like
Yeah.
how many people do we need to
Just
maybe?
having that person that will back you up, because for me, like for a good amount of time it was Dekendo. I'll be like, okay, but I'm struggling with this, and he would kind of help me, and then he got really busy. He barely here anymore. I don't even know how we get him at the table because he's barely here. But now, like I have Dr. Blakely, it's just like every time I'm feeling discouraged, like instead of giving up, I'll be like, you know what, Dr. Blakely, this is where I'm at. He lets me vent, and he's like, okay, try this way, try it this way. Like with Dr. Blakely, there's never an end.
Yeah.
It's like
Yes.
it's never
Absolutely.
like, all right, I got nothing. It's literally like, and I was like,
Try this.
still more. I still
Yes.
gotta try.
Absolutely.
And you
He's
need
like the
those
mastermind.
people.
Like
oh my goodness.
He's like endless possibility in his mind. I'm like, can I please have a piece of your brain and like
Please?
have it inserted into mine?
Everybody find you a Dr. Blakely.
Oh gosh.
But I know we're closing up on time.
I know,
I'm,
we
I'm,
like-
I'm about to give it to. Can y'all let me give it to him?
I thought you were ending. Sorry.
No, I was gonna say I know
Wait.
we're running out of time. We have like 2 minutes, so I'm gonna let G finish us off because we're so glad to have you.
Yeah, thank you for that. And I mean, I think that like looking forward and like looking to inspire change, yeah, it starts with one, education, two, advocacy, leading to that collaboration. And there's like different outlets, like different like ways that we can like do that, and like I really want like everybody to like explore that.
This bell,
You need to repeat it all.
Yeah,
Because it's so important.
2, 1.
Wait.
No, it's a whole nother. Every hour.
Yep, and now it's gonna do the 6. But you can talk in between.
Okay.
Talk.
Education.
Yeah. Advocacy and collaboration. And I mean, like, there's different ways to do that. There's like marketing, there's like social media, there's like a ton of different ways to do that. Informationals. But I think as a student body, we just have to be more comfortable being uncomfortable and want to inspire change within each other. And be mentors to each other and understand that like what we know isn't everything. We can't know everything, and there's always an opportunity to learn. There's always an opportunity to grow, and we have so much of that on this campus for the size of our campus, and it's one of the most attractive things to me about this campus, and why I really felt inspired to like do everything that I've done so far in just over a year at this university. So that's definitely.
That's why I'm proud.
I know.
Over a year.
I remember when you didn't even talk. We were like at MLG. I was like, "What's your name? Like, what's your name again?" So just call me G. And like, you just sat there.
Yeah, I mean, and it started with mentorship. You know, it started with mentorship. Mentors that inspired me to like try something new, and by trying that one thing new, here we are.
It's amazing.
I want to give a shout out to the Kendo because at Leadership Academy you were there for me, and I am who I am today. This is my speech. I am who I first I want to thank God, and second I want to thank the Kendo Michelle. Third I want to thank Dr. Blakely, Christopher Blakely to be exact, and fourth I want to thank Isa Tees Pinheiro, and then I want to thank Jessica Drummond and everybody else who believed in me. This is for you, not just for me. It's for all of us. God bless America.
This has been a great.
Can I kneel when you say that?
Shout out Maggie and Bjorn.
On that note.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for being with us here at the table. This is when we cue hands. Thank you, everyone, for being with us at the table today. One more time. We're going to get this. Thank you for being at the table.
Oh, that was better.
I didn't count.
That's why you're
The first time or the second time? Both. Okay, friends.
This was so great.